I'm Carol Lanham. I'm the Director of Mentorship for AWA Plus D. And I would like to welcome you to tonight's event on performance reviews and development plans. And before we start, I would like to introduce a very important person who is attending, and that is Meg Coffey, who is president of AWA Plus D, so that she can say a few words.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to welcome or second that welcome. I think we have do we have new members here today? I know Abby is a fairly new member. Anybody else? And Amanda is fairly new. I think you've been to a couple of events. Well, welcome, and we're happy to see you all again. We're really glad to be able to put on these mentorship events of trying to really encourage women and empower us and make us better professionals. And we're excited today to have two really great guests, Natalie and Sara. And so Carol, you can go ahead and introduce them and we'll get going.
Perfect. So again, we are thrilled to have these two presenters. I think it's going to be really great. So we have Natalie Barron, who is there in the pink she's at the top of my screen. She is an international leadership coach, facilitator, and speaker, and founder of the global coaching company Core Creation Coaching and Consulting. Her team specializes in working with emerging leaders, C-suite executives, and teams across a variety of industries. And Natalie helps ambitious professional women become powerful communicators that change the world. And we are thrilled to have her here with us tonight. We also have Sara Guerena, who I know a lot of you know. Sara is an architect at Landry Design Group, which is a high-end residential design firm. She is also AWA Plus D's Director of Programs and has been an active board member for a long time. I don't know how long. And we are equally thrilled that Sara agreed to help present tonight's topic. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to start with Natalie is going to start the presentation. Sara's got a presentation after that. Alejandra is manning the chat and hand raising and all of the stuff that Zoom's got. And so if you've got questions as we go, please raise your hand. Please type your question into the chat box, and we will make sure and try and get it. And we will definitely take questions and answer questions as we go. And also want everyone to know that tonight's program is being recorded, and that we're hoping that we're going to also be able to share this on our YouTube channel. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Natalie and Sara. Thank you very much. And so Natalie, it's all yours.
Perfect. Carol, if you could allow me to share my screen. Oh, perfect. It looks like I can. I will get started. I don't know why it's not working.
Yay.
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. First of all, thank you, Carol and Sara, for having me today. And Meg, I really appreciate being here. This is my passion project, is really helping women, like I said, become powerful communicators. And I'll get into a little bit about my background in a minute, but really my purpose, my passion is helping women communicate more powerfully over the span of their career. And it comes from my own personal experience about why I have this passion, because I know early on in my career, I made a lot of mistakes. And they were learnings that I took, and now I'm using as a coach to really help other women become more powerful and in the end, make more money. Because I know in the end, when women make more money, they have more influence and they use it for impact. And so it's my goal to kind of give that as a gift. And I love speaking to women's groups, just like being here tonight, because again, empowering women to make a difference. I know women go out and they help the world become a better place. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I would love for everyone to, I'm not sure what is going on with my screen. I apologize. I would love for everyone just to share in the chat. This is very much, I want this to be interactive. We have a small group. I want everyone to get their questions heard. their voice heard. So I would love if everyone would throw in the chat really what they're looking to get out of tonight with regard specifically to performance reviews. So while you are putting that in the chat, I will get on to the next portion. So today's presentation, here's what you're going to walk away with at the end of our time together, is you will really walk away with an understanding of, first of all, what a performance review is and why it's important. You know, I came from a background where we had performance reviews every year. They were very consistent. There was a very clear process involved. But realizing that not every organization, not every company, not every person here has that type of experience, I really want to talk about why it's important to, even if you're not having a regular performance review process with your manager or your leader, why you request one, even if your company doesn't have one that is part of their standard process. You'll learn what the common frustrations are for the manager during this process and how to proactively handle them. And the reason why I bring this up from the manager's perspective is it really feeds into the third bullet point, which is you will walk away with knowing how to feel comfortable preparing for your review. You'll learn the 7 power questions to ask to have a more empowered conversation. And you'll also learn when to start negotiating your next salary increase and promotion. So hopefully that sounds appealing to everyone. I'm looking in the chat. So it looks like looking for motivation to ask for more money and benefits. We will definitely cover that. Actually, I'm about to onboard to a new firm, so thought this would help. That's perfect. The timing couldn't be any better. How to be bold in asking for more and not take the feedback personally. Love that, Caroline. Thank you for, we will definitely cover that. How to define and articulate the goals. That is one thing I'm really passionate about also. We'll talk about how to advocate for yourself. And that is starting to feel comfortable talking about what you've achieved and really bragging about your successes in a way that feels comfortable to you. How to confidently, efficiently communicate my wants, needs, and constructive criticism, self-evaluation. I work for myself, so don't have performance reviews per se, but I do have clients that I consider to be my managers, bosses. And Meg, I'll actually talk about that in ways that you can actually get feedback from your clients. There's a link, and I may have to get it to you later, but there actually is a process where you can get kind of 360 feedback from clients, peers, ex-bosses, or leaders. So it's a really nice tool. And we have a supervisor that would like some tips on structuring evaluation. So perfect. I think everyone's needs will be met tonight, and I really encourage you to ask questions along the way. Let's make this as interactive as possible. So a little bit about me. I apologize. There we go. Again, as Carol said, I help professional women become powerful communicators, and I know that by doing that, they can change the world. And it's really their micro world, their family, their company, their team, and then that all cascades into the larger world. I spent 27 years at Mars Wrigley selling Snickers and M&Ms and Dove bars and Milky Way. I was in sales and marketing. I worked my way, it was my first job out of college, and I stayed there for 27 years. So I had a really robust career doing a lot of different roles, both as an individual contributor and as a sales leader. And like I said, we had a very comprehensive performance evaluation process that we went through. So I'm happy to share with you my knowledge and experience over the 27 years I had there. With that being said, I had one experience for 27 years. So I only had a single experience. I know different companies have different processes. So we'll talk about that, and we'll get some input from some other people on the call tonight as to what they've experienced and any questions you may have. I am certified with the International Coaching Federation. I have coached hundreds of women, and because of that, I've been coaching for the last 4 years. And because of the experience that I've had and the through line that I see in all of my individual clients, what I see is these through lines of women struggling with imposter syndrome. And the basis of that, like I said, the fix for that is to help women become powerful communicators. It helps them negotiate better. It helps them deal with conversations that involve conflict, what I call crucial conversations. And when women can really have the confidence and the clarity to communicate powerfully, like I said, because of that, I co-created a group called the Women Leading Powerfully Leadership Lab. And it's a 12-week group coaching program for women to get the clarity and confidence they need, more so when women are looking to pivot in their career. We're looking for that next step in their career. So I'm super proud of that. We created that in 2020, and we are now on our 4th cohort. So the numbers you see here, one of them is 83%. Does anyone have an idea of what that may stand for? I know I'm asking a very open-ended question, but it has to do with women in the workplace.
How much money we make compared to men?
Say that again, Kristen.
How much money we make compared to a man, I'm guessing.
Well, it's actually lower. The answer to that question is actually lower.
Okay, great. I'm being positive.
Yeah, no, I love it. 83% is the amount of women that never negotiate their salaries throughout their career. So the bottom line is women aren't asking for themselves. The effect of that is women over their lifespan of their careers are leaving about $500,000 on the table. And it's my goal to change that. And one of the ways that you can change that is by having a powerful performance review and really advocating for yourself. So we're going to get into the basics of what is a performance review. A performance review is really a part of your overall performance management. So as a leader, it's one aspect of it. And it really is, as a leader, it gives the manager this very dedicated time to measure and evaluate associates' performance. It's a really powerful communication tool to give feedback about contributions towards goals and objectives that both the individual had for themselves, as well as that individual's contribution to company performance. The other aspect of the performance review is all around performance development, professional development. So it's really an opportunity for the individual to discuss career advancement and the competencies needed for that next role. And the benefit of this particular piece of the performance review is so you and your manager are on the same page. I know so many women that typically put their heads down, do the work. They think that they're checking off all the boxes for the next role, but they haven't had this powerful conversation. And so they and their managers may be on different pages. And so this is a chance and an opportunity for you and your manager to get on the same page to really discuss your career progression. It's also an opportunity to talk about compensation. So this is typically the time when you're having that conversation with your manager and your manager is expressing, okay, this is, the raise that I'm giving you based on your performance for the year. And it's, based on qualitative measures. It's based on how you showed up and performed against, quantitative measures. It's based on, how you showed up and you performed against your objectives and your goals for that year. So does anyone have any questions as we go along about what the performance review is? I'm curious to know, how many people are currently having formal performance reviews? If we could just have a raise of hands. Okay, so I see almost everyone. And maybe you guys want to drop this in the chat. What are your feelings around performance review? Like what comes up for you when it's that review time? You would just want to drop one word in the chat about how you feel around performance review time. I love it. Kristen says she loves them. Was that sarcastic or serious?
No, I really love them.
So
my last manager, it was always a joy. He's like, okay, as usual, you did great. And I'm like, give me your money. He's like, well, we can't. It was always like that.
So Kristen, what is it about the performance reviews that you love them? Because I would say you're kind of unique, because most people are saying, look, I'm not happy. I feel vulnerable. You know, I get a little nervous during performance review time. So tell me about why you love your performance review time.
Well, at Kitchell, FDI, I really enjoyed my manager. We got along great. And I thought they were good because he was very constructive in telling me what I needed to do better. And I'm really blind to certain things I need to do. So he would always tell me, you need to do this, that, and the other thing. So usually went off pretty well because I knew what I was supposed to do, and I went after crap with gusto. And then if I was lacking somewhere, he would always tell me, hey, do this better. I mean, we got some raises and bonuses, but invariably I'm like, if I'm doing such a great job, I really think I should be making $10,000 more. And he's like, you know, and then they'd give you the rigmarole. But
Yeah.
that's
So I love, first of all, I love what you're sharing. I love that you enjoyed the feedback. I love that I love that you had a good manager. Not everyone has good managers who can deliver that feedback in a constructive way.
right.
So it sounds like you had a great experience, and I'm going to get to it a little bit later on. I love that you were asking for yourself for raises, whether you got it or not. You were definitely on the right track for asking for that. So I absolutely love that.
I totally give my mother credit for that. She was like, women never ask for more money. So anytime you go in, ask for 15, 20 over.
I love it. Yeah, Carol.
I'm going to just say that I've been in the architectural industry for a long time. And one of the things that I've found with performance reviews is you get to the beginning of the year and everybody's all gung ho and, oh, we're going to do performance appraisals and then we're going to check in quarterly, blah, blah. And so you do the first part and the follow through is terrible. And nobody ever like continues the process. And then all of a sudden a year comes around. It's like, oh, it's time for the next performance review, but we didn't ever discuss any of this as the year went on. And I find, I don't know how anybody else feels if that's a tendency, but that's been my experience in sort of the architectural industry with how performance reviews go. And it's just, it should be a better tool and it's just not. So I'm really excited for this, only to learn how can it be a better tool to try and get you as a manager and as a, as somebody who's, who is just starting out, how can it be something that can be useful?
So Carol, when you're talking about specifically about, kind of being charged up in the beginning of the year and then it kind of falls by the wayside through the rest of the year, are you speaking from a leader's perspective or from as an associate up to a leader perspective? Like,
I'm talking about as an associate.
As an associate. Okay, perfect.
I think that the leadership has great intentions at the beginning of the year. Everybody's really gung ho, but that drive to see it through and to follow through, and it just always gets lost in the shuffle and not ever something that's prioritized as something that has to happen. And it ends up getting lost.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm going to address that in another couple slides. So I'm really glad. Would someone be comfortable sharing who's nervous about performance reviews and kind of what comes up for you during that time? I saw Abby nodding. Abby, would you mind sharing?
Yes. So in the past, my performance reviews have generally been with like the president of the company, not necessarily like my direct supervisor. And so the president would be fed information from my direct supervisor, but it wasn't, it was very high level and didn't get into the nitty gritty. I also think, just as like a personal note, I walk in, I try to like pump myself up and be like, I'm going to ask for a raise, even if it's like 50 cents, like I'm going to do it. And I walk in and think of like all of the negative things I've done and not necessarily focused on the positives of like, yeah, but I also accomplished these things. Somehow as I enter that room or that meeting, all of those go away from my nerves. So that's mostly it. And I've never asked for a raise or negotiated salary. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, so I'm glad you're here because we're going to be talking about that. And thank you for sharing, thank you for being honest and sharing your experience, because I think a lot of people sitting here can relate to that. I know that was my story early on in my career as well. And I left a lot of money on the table. I left promotions on the table. And it's because I was so frustrated of seeing lesser qualified people getting promoted. And the pure reason was because they were asking for those promotions. They were asking for those raises. And so I learned a lot, which is why, I'm here to kind of pass that knowledge on to other women as well. So this is one of my favorite books. It's called The Confidence Code. And, I worked not so much at the end of my career, but, the food industry was very male dominated in the very beginning of my career. And I'm assuming that many of you work in very male dominated environments as well. I see some hands raised. Yes. And, Katty Kay from The Confidence Code, she shares this. And really the essence of it is that we aren't comfortable sometimes advocating for ourselves, letting a no stop us. And these are tactics. And what I like to impart on women is try to gamify it. Use negotiation as a game, as, hey, I'm going to try for this much. If I get this much, that's okay. At least I'm winning. And so I think if you can gamify it, it depersonalizes the experience. So you're not taking it so personally, and it's just more of an objective, like, hey, this is what I'm going to go for. So I want to talk about common frustrations from a management perspective. So, as a leader, these are things I brought to the table, that my associates, when they would come to me with a performance review and we would be sitting down for a performance review, these were frustrations that I had as a leader. And one of them is that my associates weren't prepared. So one of my pet peeves was, an associate wouldn't be prepared with what they had done through the year, what they were asking for, what their impressions of next steps was, or like they weren't clear on that. And so kind of the bullet points below that are what you can do to prepare. So you're not irritating your manager, and you can prepare fully for the performance review. One of them, the ideas is obviously make your manager's job easy. If your manager has 1 or 2 people or 15 people reporting to them, the bottom line is they have their day job. Managing a team, they have their own responsibilities, their own goals, and their own objectives. And sometimes, writing a performance review can be a cumbersome project. They don't remember everything that you did during the year. So a huge opportunity is for you to offer to write the performance review for your manager. So look, I'm going to write my own performance review. I know all of everything that I committed and I achieved this year. So I'm going to go ahead and write it. Is that okay with you? I'm guessing your manager is going to say absolutely, because it's taking something off their plate. The second thing is really around advocating for yourself. Keep, whether it's on your phone, whether it's in OneNote, whether it's on a piece of paper, keep track of your accomplishments, because as high achieving professional women, we're so focused on getting things done that we're getting so much done, we forgot what we did. And we often don't take time to celebrate it, to acknowledge it. We're just continuing to move forward. So, just really focus in on your accomplishments and keep track of those somewhere. So when you're having those quarterly performance reviews, well, I know some people have monthly check-ins with their boss, whether you're doing it monthly, whether you're doing it quarterly, or whether you're doing it biannually, just make sure that you have those and you're ready to speak about them. And again, your leader wants to know what you did. So come prepared to talk about the contributions you've made towards your personal goals and objectives, but also towards the company goals and objectives. How have you contributed to how have you provided value to the organization? What have you done above and beyond the normal scope of your job to contribute to your team, to the organization? what initiative are you taking, again, above and beyond what's written in your job scope? Because those are the things you want to highlight. And you want to show that you're a strategic thinker. You want to show that you're providing consistent quality value throughout the year. The other thing from a management perspective is be careful about being defensive. This is an open conversation. And trust me, a lot of times your leader has just a hard time and is just as nervous about sitting down, giving you constructive feedback as you are about receiving it. So I see, a lot of people are fearful of being judged, fearful of, being, given that constructive feedback. And the reality of it is, and the reason why is the way we're socialized. I'm sure everyone here got really good grades in school. You're all high performers. I'm sure you all were on the dean's honor roll. I'm sure everyone, through high school and college, had great grades. But the reality is that when you're in the job market, your first job, your second job, all of a sudden there's this harsh reality that depending on the mode of what your performance reviews, there's usually like below expectations, and then there's meets expectations. And then there, like at Mars, we had exceeds and then outstanding. I would say I barely knew anyone that ever got an outstanding. You had to be basically transforming the company to get an outstanding. I knew maybe one or two people that were getting exceeds. Most people were meeting expectations. And it was only the people that were going above and beyond, delivering consistent value towards the organization outside of their normal job scope, that were getting exceeds. And I know for me, right out of school and, being new, that was hard to just think I was just meeting expectations. To me, that was a C. Like, that was awful. Can anyone else relate to that? I see a lot of head nods. Yes. And so part of going into this conversation, not being defensive, is knowing that meeting expectations pretty much is your A. You're doing exactly what you should be doing. You're meeting the expectations of the job. And so kind of if your manager is giving you a meeting expectations, take that as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And then mentally preparing for that feedback, knowing that your manager is giving you feedback. Really, feedback is a gift. It's an opportunity for us to have our blind spots exposed. Maybe we are doing things, or we have habits or behaviors, or we have training opportunities that we need to be enriched. This is an opportunity for you to grow in your career. And any good manager is giving you that feedback because they care. I would say actually the poorest managers don't give feedback because they're afraid to do it. And sometimes they just don't care about your career progression. So any manager that's willing to give you feedback, just please take it as a gift, because that's exactly what it is. They want the best for you. They want to see you succeed. And part of the way that you can work on not being defensive is really asking questions instead of explaining. So if a manager gives you a meets expectations, you were expecting and exceeds, don't turn that into a conversation right away around, well, I think I deserve this. This is why. These are all, I'm not saying don't have that prepared, but, don't go into defensive mode. I'm curious. Coming from a place of curiosity is always helpful. I'm curious to know what it is that maybe I wasn't doing that you think I'm getting this particular rating, and what is it that I could have done better, or that I could have contributed more to get this other rating. Or if they're giving you constructive feedback, like, hey, I just don't think, let's just say worst case scenario, I don't think you're being a team player. Well, can you tell me more about that? Can you show me how I'm showing up in ways where I'm not being a team player? And so you're asking questions, you're getting curious. Because the reality is, at the end of the day, some people will see you for who you are and some people won't. Just because your manager is giving you feedback doesn't mean it's true. I just caveat that by saying that I've had bad managers who misread my intentions, who didn't really understand me as an associate. And if I were to have taken all of that feedback personally, you know, when you know that their feedback isn't accurate, it's about them, it's not about you. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts about what I'm sharing? Perfect. Again, this goes back to Carol's actual feedback around not taking the initiative. So one of the biggest things, we talk about leaders being gung-ho because that's part of their goals and objectives, right? For their team is, look, you got to check it off as a manager. I've done my performance reviews for my team, check it off. But you know, that follow through from a manager perspective is typically just because the manager gets busy. It's not because they don't care. And the bottom line I really want to take away from here, if there's anything you take away from tonight, is you own your career. Your organization does not own your career. Your manager does not own your career. You own your career and your career path. So if your leader is not having or is falling, you know, your performance review is falling by the wayside, it's up to you to initiate that conversation. It's up to you to say, hey, look, I'd like to get on a regular 90-day cadence or, you know, a half yearly cadence of us making sure that we're checking in. And it's really, you need to take that initiative to nail down your leader to make sure you're having those conversations. Also, I profess this in every talk that I do, it is okay to make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're not playing big enough. You need to, you know, I hate the word fail, but I say fail forward. You know, take whatever mistakes you make. If you make a career decision that maybe you took a job or you went with an organization that didn't work out, like what did you learn from that you can fail at and then move forward at? If you took on a project, yeah, Carol.
No, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish your.
No, I was just saying, if you take on a project that, you know, was difficult for you or you got in over your head and you didn't ask for support and, you know, it was just, and it maybe failed. Maybe you didn't meet your objectives. What did you learn from that experience? Own that. I will tell you, no manager is wanting to beat you over the head about your failures. As long as you can own your mistakes and you can own what you did wrong and you can let them know what you've learned from that experience, I don't know any manager that would be upset about that. Carol.
So one of the questions I want to ask is how you feel, you know, so if you want to own your career and, you know, performance appraisals and performance reviews are sort of set in stone, but what about, you know, going in and during sort of the progress, if you've got a particular thing that you would like to be put on or a team or whatever, like how do you see approaching a manager, even if it's not during review time? It's like, hey, what do you think about me potentially, you know, sort of going in this direction and having those kind of conversations outside of that review process as a strategy for sort of guiding your career in a way?
Yes, I say do it all the time. And the only one nuance that I would say is I think as women, we're always asking for permission. So I'm actually going to use you as a guinea pig, Carol. So instead of saying, hey, what do you think about me going to this team or that team or doing this special project? The way that it should be served up, or I would invite you to serve it up, no shoulds, but I would invite you to serve it up, is I would ask you to be prepared on why you should be going to that team, the skills that you're going to get from being on that team, but most importantly to your manager and your leaders, the value and the contribution that being on that team is going to provide to the organization. Have all of that ready and just say, look, you know, I've been thinking about going on to the special project team. This is why my skills are a great fit for that project team. Mm-hmm. This is what I know I can deliver to that project team. And these are the final results. If I know that if I can be on that project team, we're going to make 10% more. We're going to get, you know, 20% more clients. And have some results ready. And essentially you're selling yourself. And so I would say, you know, as a manager, when I hear that, like, why would I say no? You've given me all the reasons why I should say yes. You know, I may pause and I may ask you some questions, but I think, you know, it's easy from a manager's perspective to just be for that to be kind of a frustrating conversation or an overwhelming of like, hey, it's just easier to keep things as they are. But if you show me all the reasons why you should be on that project team, it's a yes.
Yeah, same thing goes for like networking conferences because it costs money. But if you say, I'm going to get this and this and this out of it, and then I'm going to bring this back to the firm, it's the same concept, I would say.
Exactly.
And I'm going to also suggest, because I've done negotiating, done the lunch and learn how to negotiate, I would suggest that going with that kind of a, hey, what about, this is what I would like to do. Don't go with the expectation that you're going to get an immediate answer, because it might take 2 meetings. And a very good approach is to go and, hey, here's something I would like you to think about. Boom, 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 boom. Let's line it out. Can you please think about this? And I'd like to get back with you tomorrow, next week, or whatever, and let's discuss it. And that doesn't put anybody on the spot. It gives your manager, whoever, a chance to really think about it in reality. And it gives you a way to just like not get an immediate no, but to kind of go out, breathe, and then prepare yourself for whatever's going to happen. So a 2 meeting sort of strategy, I think, is always is an effective way to kind of handle a situation like that as well.
Yes, I would say some of the best opportunities have come from no's. And so don't ever take your first no. One of my favorite examples of that is Barbara Kikorian on Shark Tank. Not sure, you guys can look it up. There's an Inc. article about it. She was told no by the producer. She wrote the most powerful letter as to why they were making a mistake and why she should be on the show. And now 12 or 13 years later, she's on the show.
Nice.
And it was from that no. She didn't take that no. And here she is, And so I love those. And I love exactly what you're saying is, okay, I hear that. I'll go ahead and I'll check back with you in a month or a week to, circle back with you. And maybe we can talk about other alternatives that would fit. And so, people also process information differently. So your manager might just not be in the mindset to say a yes or a no. Your manager also might just be someone that needs to process information before they make a decision. So
anyone who's an engineer.
Yes, exactly.
And I have an engineering husband who is, you just put it in his mind and 3 weeks later say something, and by the time you want it, it's done.
I love that.
Engineers totally need that.
Yes. So these are 7 power questions that you should be having or asking or discussing during your performance review. So always be asking, what should I continue doing, stop doing, and start doing? What can I do now to deliver more value to the organization? Again, that shows that you're really being a strategic thinker and you're not just thinking about yourself and your silo and your particular job position. What can I do to give me the best opportunity to move to the next level in the organization? And what that is doing is it's setting you up to get clear direction from your manager or your leader about what their expectations are about what you need. That gives you a basis. When you check off those boxes, well, you need to do these 3 things. You come back to your manager after you've done those 3 things. Look, even if it's before your review, you come back to them and say, look, I did these 3 things that we spoke about. You wanted me to gain some competencies and some experience. I've done that. I've met with this customer. I worked on this particular project. Those are the things that we spoke about. So I'm ready to move up to the next level. What else do I need to be doing? Or how can you support me to get that interview with so-and-so or to that next project? What can I do to help make you more successful? I don't know one manager that wouldn't want to hear that question because, it's all, really your job is to make your manager look good, which makes the organization look good. So that's a powerful question and one that most people don't ask. So just make sure that you are asking that question. What technical or leadership skills do I need to elevate? Is there any other feedback from my team that you think I should know? It's powerful when, sometimes your team members don't feel comfortable being super direct. And so this is an opportunity for your manager to give you some constructive feedback. And then always asking the open-ended question, what else? What else should I know? What else is important for us to talk about? So we talked about negotiation. I think women should be negotiating all the time. With that being said, there is the nuance that we are in the middle of COVID. There are organizations that are struggling. There are people being furloughed or let go. So you need to be very timely. It's probably not appropriate to be asking for, $100,000 raise in the middle of the company having financial troubles. So, I mean, I'm exaggerating for a reason, but, you have to be cognizant and aware of timing. But what I will say, pre-COVID, post-COVID, most women are not having these discussions early or often enough. So that's basically what I want to, leave you with. As a manager, I had a bucket of money that I could disperse amongst my group. The people that got more money were typically the people that came to me earlier, not the day of the conversation, letting me know what they were expecting and why they were expecting the raises. And, because I could distribute money. This person got 3%, this person got 5%, this person got 7%. And so always be having those conversations 3 months before your review, or at least timely, before your review, not the day of the conversation. Always be asking for a raise for a lateral position. Oftentimes we don't think that we should be asking for a lateral position because it's lateral and we're not moving up. Not the case. You should be always asking, always for a promotion. And if you're taking an external role with the same job title, still always ask for a promotion. A lot of people think, well, that's the same job role, I should just lateral it to the next company. You should always be still asking for more. Any questions at this point? I know we kind of had questions along the way, and I want to be cognizant of time, but anyone have any questions? Amanda.
Yes, I was wondering if you would be willing to share your PowerPoint.
Of course, yes, I will send it to Alejandra or to Carol, and absolutely, you can. I'm happy to have you guys share it.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
I have a question, address a little bit with the 7 power questions. Those were really helpful. But in an instance where, like, I've felt in past performance reviews, I'm not getting much sort of feedback or even like constructive criticism. And so I think those questions kind of help address that in specifics. But are there any kind of like strategies, any more strategies to kind of understand how to get more feedback that would help me to grow, not just, like, you're doing a great job, keep going?
Yeah, so I would just say ask for it. That was my experience. I was a high performer in my company, and typically my performance reviews were always really good. But I always asked, well, I don't know. My manager would say, well, I don't know, I can't think of anything. And I said, please just give me one thing that I can learn and grow from. And I think if you push and you really ask for that feedback, they will come up with something. And most times, if they're not coming up with something, first of all, you probably are a high performer. But secondly, sometimes the manager just doesn't feel comfortable giving feedback. And so if you push and you let your manager know that you are comfortable getting that feedback, they typically will give you something. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Carol.
We have a hand raised.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
AR Ash PB Pune.
Yeah, hi ma'am. Am I audible to all of you? I'm from India.
We're so glad you're here.
Yeah, so hi ma'am. First of all, I have joined in little late because there's a festival going on over here, but still it is for the women from architectural and building construction development platform. So the major question I'm putting here is, I am a high performer. I was having a lot of projects at my belt from 25 acres to 30 acres with 1,000 flats to 2,000 flats, which we were designing, delivering, and all design management work. But I could not get the raise which I asked, being a headstrong woman, and I started my own company. Now, after 3 years, the same company is asking me to be a COO of their one company. So today is a big day for me. At 4 o'clock, I have a final interview with them. I just want to put my cards very strongly and as a confident woman. Though I'm very much technically sound in my field and everything, I have a passion for it. But there are some things which COO should have, which I feel we are not groomed enough in our technical college or the bachelorette of architecture degree. So could you just help with some tips or uh, that's the question, ma'am.
So it sounds like the question is, in architecture, in your training, in more of a traditional, in our field, you didn't collect, or we don't typically collect the knowledge to be a successful COO. Is that sort of the question? And you're wondering what is the advice?
Yes, ma'am.
So does anyone have any, you are all experts in the room. So does anyone have any thoughts for her?
I would say, I mean, we try to talk about that sort of thing in women's groups. Like as a organization, we've tried to address a lot of the business issues, a lot of the organizational issues that we're seeing, because sometimes we work in silos and every firm thinks they're doing this the right way, but we really don't learn until we speak with others. So I would maybe recommend joining more groups like this, or finding people to talk through ideas or talk through experiences, because that has helped a lot for some of us.
I agree.
And I want to add, I think I heard you correctly in that the firm that you left the firm and started your own firm, correct? And now your previous firm is asking you to come back. So you have been a successful COO because you just operated and ran your own business. So please take all that you learned there and assume that being a COO for another company is not going to be any different. It's going to be about managing staff. It's going to be about being financially, it's going to be about making the financials and being profitable and doing the projects. And you've already done that because you ran your own firm and you were successful at it, or else they wouldn't be asking you back. So I think that you probably already have those skills, and you need to sort of look at what you did from there and kind of translate that into what you're now going to be able to offer your former firm. That's what I hear.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, because that's what I told them the entire time. And now they are like, we will merge both the firms and all. So I was like, sir, let's go slow. You put the offer on the table formally, then let me evaluate. So that's how at 4 p.m. I have asked them to give a proper formal slot of appointment or whatever.
Hi, I'm the president of AWA plus D, and I just wanted to welcome you. I also just had a quick question. How did you find out about this tonight?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I am on LinkedIn, and I'm working with architects from Beirut, and I work with them in lockdown as well. So through LinkedIn, I am also in connection with the architectural design management group. So there are very few professionals from architecture background who are doing only design management. And from there, I was also with one group, female lead or she lead. And over there, I saw this thing that this is for coming up. So could you join? So I joined.
Okay, well, great. Thank you for being here. It's really, I don't know that we've ever had we've never had a guest from so far away. It's really great.
I know. I think that that's fabulous.
Yeah. Sorry, Natalie, go ahead with your presentation.
It's great. And I just want to echo what Carol said. You have exactly what you need. So just move forward and just own it. And congratulations on, such a great accomplishment and getting the offer. So kudos.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Kudos to you. So I have some, again, this will be sent. So you can either take a picture of it or you can wait till you get the PowerPoint, but just some recommendations here. Some of my favorite books, my podcast. I'm doing a little self-promotion. I do have my own podcast called Lead Your Life, where I talk about issues that women face in the workforce. to help them really lead their life so they can love their life. So if you want to care to listen, you can listen to it on any place where you listen to your podcast. And I'll conclude my section. I'm going to turn it over to Sara. Basically, I'm here to help support women. So if you want to scan the code at the bottom, you can enter basically for a breakthrough coaching session with me. There's no hard sell. That's not what I do. I'm just here to help you. So you can have a strategy session. You can talk about your performance review. You can talk about anything regarding your career that you want to basically have a consultation with, and I'm happy to provide that. So I'll be, choosing, let's say 5 winners from tonight to have a free coaching session with me. That's my gift to your organization for coming together and being supportive of women and doing the work that you do. So if you all want to enter in, that would be great. And after that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Sara.
Yahoo. And we will share this, we'll share this screen again at the end, just in case you didn't have time and to make sure everybody can register for that wonderful, wonderful prize. Thank you so much, Natalie.
Sure.
Thank you, Natalie.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'll be real quick. I don't have quite as much to say. I'm really just here to talk for a moment about some examples of how you might be able to, let me pull this over here, how you might be able to achieve some of the things that we've just learned about today. Do you see my screen? Okay, all right, great. Yeah, I'll just be brief. I am a I'm an architect. Goodness, let me go to my notes. I'll just call myself a different person altogether. I've been working in architecture for 20 years. And I'm currently in a position as a supervisor, but I'm also being managed. So I'm in between. And so all of these things that Natalie said are really ringing true for me and helpful. I work for a firm that's 50 people, and we have always strived to educate and allow leaders to form. And we don't hire people that are high up. We definitely train people to come up. And my firm has, most people are 10, 15, 20 years at this firm. So people stick around because of what we're trying to do. So we've really experimented with how to keep people and how to make them take control of their own career and really move themselves forward and empower them to do the work. So we do that through a program called the Career Development Program. And we have a couple of ways we've done it over the years. So I just want to show you a couple of examples. So in our reviews, let's see, move on to the next. In our reviews that we do twice a year, we have the partner, we have our associate, and we have the supervisor in the room with you. And like Natalie was saying, sometimes you're just really nervous, especially with somebody like the partner or your associate who you don't deal with as much. You get kind of flustered and nervous. And we do that twice a year. And we accomplish just the same stuff that Natalie was talking about. Those 2 meetings are trying to cover, salary and hopes and dreams for the year, and things that you've accomplished and things that you could work on. And they're always a challenge. So our tools, I'll just go to this next piece. This is the first tool that we use. So we meet with our supervisor every month. And that's how we have these conversations more frequently. And what that does is, what it's done for me, and it's what it's done for a lot of people, is give you the ability to talk about yourself and what you want. And that's challenging. And you need to practice that more than twice a year, or some of us don't even get an opportunity. So learning to talk about yourself and what you want and your goals is a challenge just on its own. Actually, even knowing what you want. I've gone through phases in my career where I've had a plan, don't have a plan, plateaued, had a plan, don't have a plan. Just getting used to talking about what you're looking for. This is one way to do it. The other thing that this achieves, meeting with your supervisor once a month, having a comfortable conversation that's not too challenging. It's really somebody you are working with. Learning to dialogue about things that you've accomplished, writing them down, learning to dialogue about your goals, and then learning to dialogue about like how to take bite-sized parts and achieve them, like how to actually find a thing that you can do, not just say, I want to get good at this thing. Okay, how? It's a 6-month thing. Every 6 months, it's easy to say, yeah, I want to learn more about, the consultants. Okay, you could say that every year and not really make any progress. Making bite-sized parts is how you do it. So this is a form that we use that helps a lot with that. And what's awesome is that at 6 months, when you have your actual review with the bigwigs, you bring in these sheets, you have notes, you've already documented yourself throughout the year, and you feel a lot more comfortable and less crazy. So that's really nice. So this is one of those. Let me just see if there's any other things I wanted to say about this. This is one of those forms, really helpful. Another form that we've tried, I don't use this as much. I used to use this a lot and found it really helpful. It's another tool that we've developed. Say you have come up with some goals for yourself. How do you hold your supervisor accountable? Well, this is how. You come up with the things you might want to have. So like on this list, I want to go to job sites and I want to talk with contractors more. I learned a lot when I said that, when I do that. And so I want to do that on a monthly basis. I want my supervisor's support to help me make these things happen for my career, because I know they're good for me. And they're things that maybe I like. Maybe I don't even know that I'm good at them. I just like them. It's kind of whatever you want. I'm holding someone accountable for it. So I meet with them and I go through this every few months or every 6 months, and they know, like, I'm documenting, I did permit coordination only 2 of those months, and I really wanted to do it more. And so let's make it happen next 6 months. So anyway, so those are some things that we've done at Landry, and they've been really helpful. And I think they really kind of get people comfortable with some of the challenges of having a review. And it really puts it in our own hands. It makes us accountable. And we've really then sort of manage up using those forms. So
were those the actual forms?
Yeah, those are our actual forms. I cleaned up my own versions, but I meet with, I'm not going to say everything, but I meet with people that I supervise, and I go through those forms, and we call it workshopping, where we're brainstorming about achievements and goals and growth, because it's really hard. It's really hard to come up with that stuff. And then for me, I meet with my manager and we talk about those things for myself. So it's a good practice.
I think that one of the things, I really like the idea that you do these monthly, that gets you in the habit of figuring out sort of like what your goals are for the month. Because I also want to remind everybody that everybody, in my experience, of course, but everybody that's been a manager has come up through the same system I have, where there's no training on how to do it, right? And so you end up with a good manager only because they had good managers. But if you end up with a manager that, that didn't, and, they did performance reviews once a year and then they were dropped. And so they're sort of, everybody's sort of learning as they go. And this industry, at least architectural, I'm certain landscape architects and interior designers are completely different, but at least architects, we're horrible about training our staff to do things that are business, like the business of doing architecture related. And so it's a difficult, this kind of thing it's a difficult process. So I love that you guys are doing that as a form, and it would be great to have like a practice round of like, how do I even fill out this form? Like, what's a good thing to say, and doing all of that, because I think that that's a very difficult thing to do too, is how do I be my own advocate and promote my own accomplishments? Because sometimes it just seems like, well, I just did my job, like, right? And so it's like picking out those things that I accomplished. I think that's difficult, because sometimes you feel like I got up this morning and today that was a great accomplishment.
I know.
Anyway, gosh.
I just wanted to Carol, you reminded me of something. I used to work for a big corporate firm and had some management training that they were kind enough to enroll me in and put me through. And one of the takeaways from that I really remember from one of these management training sessions was that management is not a skill that we come with. It is a learned skill. And, you know, we just what you were saying, Carol, we don't learn it in architecture school or design school. And so we're all kind of just learning it on the job. And that's not really the way to do it. So if you are a manager or want to be a manager, I think you have to take it upon yourself to learn some of those skills and to really practice them. I also just wanted to mention that, you know, for me, I think that, I don't know, I always think that if I do my job and I do it well, that I will be rewarded. And that's the way it works, that if you do your job and you do it well and you're an asset to the company, then of course they're going to promote you, because that's just what they do. And that's the natural step. And why wouldn't they? Because you've been doing your job and you've been doing it well. And that's not really how it works. I mean, if you want to be promoted, you have to kind of ask for it. You have to put it out there of, I want a promotion, or I'm working towards this promotion, or one of my goals is to be promoted. Because otherwise, I think, you know, they're not thinking about you all the time. They think that you're fine where you are and you're doing a good job. So why would they change?
And that's why you might have to go somewhere else that will appreciate you.
And I think culturally we're taught that it's, you know, that you shouldn't toot your own horn, right? And unfortunately, one of the things that you have to learn how to do is do that. But you have to learn how to do it in a way that's not obnoxious and not, because we all know people that do toot their own horn, but, you know, we know the obnoxious ones, but we also know the people that do it well. And I think trying to figure out how to, again, it's advocate for yourself well is a difficult skill. That brings me to a great segue, which is our next event in February. We are co-sponsoring event with NAWIC, which is the National Association of Women in Architecture, and it is on advocating and collaborating within your own firm. And it is a panel event, and it is going to be February 16th, which is a Tuesday night, not a regular night, but that is going to be hosted by them. And I think that would be it's going to be a great follow-up to this, to try and help sort of develop those skills. There's a panel that will have sort of senior women who are giving advice on how they advocated for themselves within their firms in order to achieve where they've got. So more details later. But I want to make sure that we have a, you know, opportunity for anybody to ask more questions if they've got them.
Okay, thank you so much, Natalie. I would say from what you just mentioned, Carol, and what Meg just said, the thing I've seen women in my time do is not think, okay, not want to leave the safety and security where they are. Like Natalie said earlier, we don't want to do that right now necessarily, but I've known some women who said, okay, I'm not getting what I want. It's March 2020. I'm going to go to another firm. And yes, you can do the inroads of making that happen before you move to be safe. But if you're at a place which is stagnating you and not giving you the promotion you deserve, I feel like a lot of women I work with are like, oh, but I have a job. I don't want to go do that. Yeah, it's scary. And it is scary. So, but if there were enough mentorships going around with women to say, this is how you do it, and you can do it, and you should do it. If they're not appreciating you, you should go somewhere else.
That's right. We'll also want to promote, come next week to our Experienced Professionals Mentorship Support Group, which meets this very same time next Wednesday. And we talk about sort of those same issues. If you have been in the industry for 10 years or more and are hitting sort of some of those things, we're here to help you figure it out. But if we don't have any more questions, and we're run over our time, and I appreciate Natalie, you so much for sticking with us, and Sarah, thank you so much. This was fantastic, great information. It will be shared on the somewhere, and I think we're going to put it on the YouTube channel. I don't know how that works, but
Yep,
somehow
we'll do that.
we're going to share the information. But we really, really, really appreciate everybody staying with us and logging in and attending. And I think it was really, really fantastic. So I'm going to ask everybody to like turn their mute off and give Sara and Natalie a round of applause. Fantastic, great.
Thank you.
Thank you all. It's great to see everyone.
Yeah,
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, ladies.
Stephanie.
Have a
Thanks
great night.
all. See you next Wednesday. Next Wednesday. Don't